Ladies and gentlemen, we are right there. Bitcoin went up to $68,850 today, which is basically at the all-time high. Now, you guys remember the all-time high is actually about 69,000, but I mean, we're so close here that I'm willing to say that we're basically there. So Bitcoin has been an absolutely explosive story to start the year, but in this video, I want to go ahead and talk about where it could wind up, and especially when it surpasses that $69,000 level, how incredibly significant that is, and where Bitcoin could be by November. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, make sure you first like and subscribe, and also follow me on X for the most up-to-date information. So Bitcoin has been on an absolute tear. But I want to first start off by examining some of the previous bull market runs that we've had for Bitcoin. So I'm going to go ahead and move back here. We're going to take a look at the charts, and I'm going to go ahead and show you and break this down, and we're going to see exactly the kind of crazy moves that Bitcoin has made. So this is the monthly chart. We have Bitcoin reaching an all-time high back in 2013 of about $260 or so. Now this later on was surpassed a couple months later here in November, and you saw here that from that move, from where it previously made an all-time high to where it actually topped out at, was about a 4.7x or so. So it went all the way up to about $1,200 and then came back down again. So I want you to keep this in mind. So 4.7x. Now, if we go ahead and turn to the bull market run in 2016, we can see here that Bitcoin went up a whopping 16.5x after it crossed that all-time high threshold of, again, about $1,200. It rallied all the way up to about almost $20,000. It's about $19,500. All right, so again, 16.5x for that rally, all right? So now we're going to go to the most recent rally that we had here, and that would be after Bitcoin surpassed that close to $20,000 mark. It rallied 3.5 times to go all the way up to about $69,000. All right, so taking this all into account, and again, I'm just theory crafting here, and I'm trying to give you a rough estimate of where Bitcoin could wind up. So given the fact that we're looking at a time span of about 4 to 8 months or so, that means I think we could be heading close to anywhere between a 2 and a 3.5x movement. Okay, so that would put us in around the area of about either 138 to about 241K near November this year. All right, so it's not outside the realm of possibility. And the simple fact is that Bitcoin tends to go on monster runs, and it really tends to just keep going basically, and until it reaches a blow off top. And then after it reaches that blow off top, then we see a substantial pullback from that new all-time high. Now, again, I think this is going to take some time. I do think that we're looking at basically the entirety of the year at this point in order to reach those prices there. And I do think that at some point we are going to get a dip before that happens. I think we're going to wind up seeing a dip after the actual halving. And if we go ahead and take a look at the halving time here, we're at about 44 days away or so from the next halving. But Bitcoin right now is looking pretty overbought, though I would say that it is not outside the realm of overbought that it normally is during the bull market. If you take a look at the monthly RSI, that tells us the strength of the buyers. It's typically over what we call it about over 90 or so, and it's only sitting at about 75 right now, which implies that there's more room left to run until we wind up getting close to an all-time high or close to a local top. So I do think with Bitcoin, there is still substantial upside available. Again, looking at approximately 2 to 3.5 times the current price. And really, though, I mean, this is a monumentous occasion. If anybody who's been in Bitcoin for a while and has been waiting patiently, this is the great payout after waiting patiently for so long, after Bitcoin's basically just kind of gone sideways and down ever since the 2021 all-time high. We've been kind of waiting for this moment where Bitcoin is actually climbing all the way back up again. So one of the reasons why we've seen Bitcoin climb so high, again, back to the spot ETFs, we take a look at the net Bitcoin inflows for those spot ETFs. And again, inflows, we're taking a look at the outflows plus the inflows and getting the total net flows. So the total net flows are actually inflows right now, and we're seeing since inception about 148,000 Bitcoin going into those ETFs. And it's just been just an absolutely crazy ride. Again, from where we were earlier in February, even just earlier in February, where you can see here that we were sitting at about 34,000 and we've climbed all the way up to 148,000. So this is organic demand that otherwise would not be here without the approval of that Bitcoin spot ETF. And that's partially the reason why we've seen such a monster move up for Bitcoin. Now, that monster move up for Bitcoin has come off the back of the short sellers, which have been liquidated to a tune of $105 million in the last 24 hours for Bitcoin. And they've even gone even further from there. We've actually seen massive short liquidations just in the past week or so, with the 27th of February going all the way as far as $395 million worth of short liquidations. Now, if we take a look at this on the heat map, we can see here that most of these new shorts that are coming into the market are literally right at that $69,000 level. So we're looking at some significant levels here, about almost 200 million here, about 200 million here, at about actually at 69,000. So if Bitcoin, or I should say, when Bitcoin finally breaches that 69K level, we're going to also see it spike as well as these shorts get liquidated. Now, I also like to keep track of what the long-term hodlers are doing. And if you take a look at the long-term supply for hodlers, we're actually sitting pretty, I think, at currently where it is right now at about 82 or so percent. So 82% of Bitcoin is held by these long-term hodlers, and these long-term hodlers are people who have held Bitcoin for more than 139 days. Now, we have not seen a significant decrease in the number of long-term hodlers. It went from like 85% down to 82%, which is pretty normal. That's not outside the realm of possibility. But I do have a feeling that as soon as we get past that 69K region, we're going to actually start seeing people take some profits, at least briefly speaking. Meanwhile, the others will be probably waiting until the next bull market top. Now, I actually want to go ahead and take a look at now that February is actually done, the total returns for Bitcoin in the month of February. We actually had 43%, which is honestly one of the best months in Bitcoin, going all the way back, going all the way back to the bull market run, say about back here to 2020 is when we had another month that was in the 40+% region here in December and November. I mean, we really haven't seen this kind of move in Bitcoin in a while. And you'll notice that even after we had those monster moves in November and December 2020, we actually had some pretty nice moves the following couple of months afterwards. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have a negative month or that we're going to have a huge drawdown. But I do think that at some point we are going to have a drawdown. And for me personally, that drawdown, that dip, that's going to be my dip buying opportunity for Bitcoin, wherever it may go down to. I think that it's possible that we could get a dip down to 64K. Maybe we'll test that support and see where Bitcoin goes from there. So as for my own plan, I'm still planning on adding in dips. I haven't made any decisions about whether I'm going to be selling yet, but that's going to be something that I'm going to be keeping track of, and something that I will make a whole video on if I do wind up selling, or if I wind up DCAing out of some of my holdings. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But the first time I will basically do it, I will post it on X so you guys can see it basically in real term, or in real time, as I actually make those trades. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the exchange net flows. So again, taking the inflows, taking the outflows, and basically finding out how they come together and seeing if there's a net outflow or a net inflow from the exchanges for Bitcoin. We can see here that February, especially February 29th, we had actually a large exodus of Bitcoin leaving the exchanges, almost 20,000 Bitcoin in a single day in here in February. Now, the last couple of days, we've actually seen some inflows, okay? But the data for today seems to be, again, more outflows. We'll have to see and look at this data as it actually comes in over time, because this isn't with crypto quant is not 100% up to date just yet. Usually it takes a couple of days for that data to refresh. All right, now the next thing I want to talk about is what the big portfolios are doing. And specifically, I'm talking about the Binance portfolio. You guys can look at this on Nansen. If you go to Nansen AI, the dashboard, and actually look up Binance, you can see what Binance's portfolio actually is here. And you can see that Binance's portfolio is actually made up mostly of Bitcoin, now 32%, USDT about 19%, ETH about 9.5%. Now, if we go and compare this to where they were back in June or so, you can see here that in June they had mostly USDT. In fact, that was making up about 28% of their total portfolio, followed by Bitcoin at 27% and ETH at about 11%. So they've actually significantly added to their Bitcoin holdings, and now Bitcoin makes up a much larger part of their portfolio after that point, and ETH has actually made up a lower part of their portfolio. So we've actually kind of seen in the time that in between then and now what the whales have actually been doing and how things have changed with these portfolios. So I think it's actually very telling. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what's going on this week in the economic reports. So Monday, not much going on here. Tuesday, we had factory orders and ISM services, as well as the Fed chairs speaking. Wednesday is going to be ADP employment, so that's going to be important to look out for to see if employment is weakening or if it continues to be strong. We also have Fed presidents speaking as well, and then we have jobless claims on Thursday, as well as the productivity, see if that gets revised. And then we have Jerome Powell testifying to Congress. This is going to be probably the biggest point of the week, is that Jerome Powell, when he testifies to Congress, you never know exactly what he's going to say. He might actually wind up being very bullish or maybe even bearish, hawkish or dovish. And if he is hawkish towards Congress and whatever they're testifying, we could actually wind up seeing a large dip in traditional markets, which means Bitcoin could actually wind up taking a hit as well. But keep an eye on this. This is going to happen at 9:40 a.m. on Thursday. And then Friday, we have non-farm payrolls as well as the unemployment rate as well. Again, these things can impact the traditional markets and the crypto markets. So let me know what you guys think about this kind of hypothetical framework that I put up. And again, this is some guesswork by me. Don't take this for 100% accurate, and don't take this as financial advice, because this is more of a hypothetical framework than an absolute reality, because no one can predict the future. But let me know what you guys think below. If you think it's possible that we could actually wind up getting to even 241K, if you think that's possible within 2024, leave a comment below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.